For 30 years, the German capital Berlin bore the weight of the Cold War. As Western Europe and the Eastern Bloc clashed, the heart of the city was split by the Berlin Wall. West and East Berlin were completely cut off from each other, and the movement was heavily restricted between the two sides, until the wall was torn down on November 9, 1989. This week marked the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Commemorations took place all over the city, and millions of people attended the ceremonies organized for the occasion. 25 years later, the Berlin Wall remains an iconic symbol of the Cold War and of the virtual Iron Curtain that split the world at the time. Our focus this week is on Berlin. Hello und herzlich willkommen to our focus on Berlin, the city that is celebrating the 25th anniversary of the most significant event in recent German history, the fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989. To remember the day, many exhibitions and events are taking place throughout the city, and let's get going with a special retrospective on West Berlin. Joining us now is Professor Dominik Bartmann from the Staatsmuseum in Berlin. Hello, Professor.
Hello.
First, tell us, what is this exhibition exactly presenting?
Many people forget that 25 years ago, an era ended, the era of West Berlin. West Berlin was a very special thing, with a very special atmosphere in that city, which was surrounded by the wall, by the GDR. Mm-hmm. And the exhibition tries to look back 4 decades of development of life, how people felt, what political events took place, and so it's a big show.
But what is actually so special about the west side of the city that deserves such an exhibition? Because usually we refer to the east side of the city as the more mysterious one, since it was so isolated.
Yes, that's true. But on the other hand, after the fall of the wall, the eastern part of Berlin got very popular, whereas the western was forgotten a little bit. And the atmosphere, the feeling of people being isolated is so interesting. And we try, by this exhibition, to remember, to get back the feeling.
Many East Berliners felt as if they were deprived, maybe disappointed after the reunification, because they had hopes that this reunification will unite the two Germanys. I mean, taking the good values, the good qualities that were in the East and combine it with what the West had to offer. And then they felt that somewhat, I mean, the West was taking over. What did the West lose after?
They lost, for example, support, financial support, financial advantages. Working in West Berlin meant you got more money than West Germans, because it was complicated to get into the city, get out of the city. Everyday life was a little more expensive, and so I had a lot of privileges. All that has normalized since then.
And except for architecture, maybe where lies the difference between the two sides of Berlin right now, the West and the East?
We show, of course, many photographs, many film sequences, many objects. The subtitle of our exhibition is An Island in Search of Its Mainland. So the West Berliners always try to get to the mainland, to be normal in a way.
Thank you so much, Professor, for being with us today. It sounds like a great exhibition.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Next year, 2015, will mark 50 years of diplomatic relations between Israel and Germany. Israeli journalist Eldad Beck, who has been living in Berlin in the past 12 years, had recently published a book about the two countries' special relationship. And Eldad, you're joining us now from Berlin. Hello. First, let's start with your book. What is it dealing with?
Well, the book, whose title is Germany Differently, is trying to deal with many things that we believe about regarding Germany. In the last, let's say, 15 years, Israelis started seeing Germany differently and believing that there is another Germany. I mean, even Ben-Gurion, when he established relations with Germany in the 50s, not diplomatic relations, but first of all, it was on the technical level. He said that we are going to do it with the other Germany, which means not the Nazi Germany, but something completely else that has been established on the ruins of Nazi Germany.
Many young adult Israelis are now moving to Berlin as part of a protest on the high costs of living here in Israel. Could this outflow be viewed as a way of coping with history, or is it all about the prices?
Well, I think that this whole issue has been put out of proportion. First of all, the numbers of the Israelis that are really living here for longer periods are much less than the numbers that have been thrown in the air in the last weeks. I think that we are dealing with something like 10,000 Israelis that are long-time stayers here in Berlin, and all the others are coming and going. And we are talking about Berlin and not Germany, because there is a big difference between Berlin and Germany. Berlin, to a large extent, is one of the cheapest places in the whole continent of Europe. And this is one of the reasons that not only Israelis, only people from all over Europe are moving in here. So it's not only an Israeli phenomenon, it's a whole European phenomenon. This is something which is extremely important to say. However, in the last, let's say, 3-4 years, prices have been going up. And the reason to it is the fact that many Europeans of the Euro crisis area have been investing their money here in Berlin.
As a result of history, to what extent do Germans feel obligated to stand by Israel regardless of the state's actions? And also, as a result of history, how much do they feel that they have to stand by the weaker population, the underdog?
I think that we have to differentiate in a very serious manner between the political establishment here in Germany and the public opinion. The political establishment, to a certain extent, had indeed a sense, at least a verbal sense, of obligation to stand by the side of Israel. However, the public opinion here in Germany has continually been I wouldn't say anti-Israeli, but very critical to Israel, very not understanding to Israel, and very pro-Palestinian. Now, it also has to do with the fact that, as you mentioned, the Palestinians are considered as the underdog in the conflict in the Middle East between Israelis and Palestinians. However, there is no attempt whatsoever from the German side to see the Israeli interpretation of the situation, according to which the Israelis are the underdog, because you know, the numbers are very clear, which means that the whole question of underdog is a question of interpretation.
Thank you so much for your insights, Eldad Beck, and Auf Wiedersehen, maybe in Israel. And now, what else is going on in Berlin?
The CEO of Berlin Airport has requested 3.2 billion euros to finish off the city's new international airport because it is too small. According to the CEO, the money is needed in order to build a new runway and complete the airport, which was meant to open in 2012. So far, 5.4 billion euros have been spent for the project. More than 80 countries signed an agreement at the Berlin Tax Conference last week that could end banking secrecy and facilitate the global battle against tax evasion and fraud. Among the signatories were EU countries, but also countries which have been proponents of the banking secrecy, such as Liechtenstein and the Cayman Islands. German train drivers threatened to strike during the 25th anniversary celebration of the Berlin Wall's fall, a time when millions of people were commuting in the city. The initiative resulted from a bitter labor dispute in which the train drivers' union demands a 5% wage increase and a shorter working week of 37 hours. The German capital is currently pushing a proposal to create a 750-meter swimming pool running in Berlin's Spree River. If the plan goes ahead, which it probably will, Berliners could have a sparkling clean stretch of water 15 times the length of an Olympic swimming pool to enjoy every summer. Germany's capital launched its campaign to host the 2024 Olympics. Berlin is pitching against over 10 other major world cities, including a few in the US, such as Washington, D.C., New York, and
Every year, around 120 German-speaking individuals from 40 countries around the world arrive in Berlin as part of the International Parliament Stipend, IPS. For 5 months, they get the political honor of working as parliamentary assistant at the bureaus of members of the German Bundestag. To hear more about this exciting project, I would like to say hello to Andreas Graf and William Medina, two Americans who took part in this program back in 2013, along with your anchor. Hi, guys. So good to see you.
Hi, Tal. What up, girl?
I'm good. Andreas, let's start with you. So besides the parliamentary work, what is special about the IPS program and who can apply for it?
Hi, Tal. Well, the program really consists of 3 components. The first you've already mentioned, which is that each participant is placed in the office of a German parliamentarian in one of the German parties in German parliament. Second is a study component, which consists of lectures at German universities and seminars with German political foundations. And last but not least, there's really, the program is about learning from one's fellow participants. And with participants from over 40 countries, from the US, France, Central and Eastern Europe, the Caucasus, and more recently, the Middle East and North Africa, this unique blend of cultures, personalities, political philosophies really makes for a fascinating exchange of ideas, and it all takes place in German, which isn't typically known as a world language.
Of course. William, how exciting was it for you to work at the Bundestag, and what was actually your daily work?
Well, it was very exciting. Honestly, you know, you get to see German policy making it at first hand. Most of the things that I did, it was some of it related to basic administrative tasks, helping around the office, and sometimes some of the constituents from my representative, they would come and visit, and I would help them, I would guide them through this wonderful building right here. The most interesting part of my work at the office was the research.
And William, in what way do you think that taking part in such a great program affected your career or maybe your personality?
Well, it affected me in both fields. Honestly, with my personal life, I got to meet wonderful people from different countries, including you, of course. And I learned a lot from them. The experience helped me as a launching pad. Afterwards, I was able to stay and do my master's, and I hope to one day work in the field of international relations or maybe something related in an international organization. And I think that this experience really helped me, so we'll see.
Vielen Dank, Leute. So good to see you. I hope to see you soon, maybe in Berlin, who knows.
Yeah, we look forward to it too.
Germans are famous for their beer, hot dogs, and sauerkraut. Except for this, we'll just say that the German culinary is not exactly like the French, Italian, or Mediterranean, you know. But the chef Mario here, Mario Hilmer, is with us to try to convince us otherwise. Hi, Mario.
Hi.
So there are so many stereotypes about the German food. Does Berlin have much to offer than the typical Deutsche Küche?
Yes, we have in Berlin with a traditional German food, which means actually sauerkraut, a lot of potatoes in many dishes, and heavy cooking. That means we also cooking a lot of food in butter.
But what other differences do they have, I mean, in terms of cooking in East, different from the West?
Yes, okay, I will explain to you that we using in East Germany, or we used to until we opened the wall, the products which are growing in the German countryside, let's say herbs, vegetable, by the season, yes? When we have actually the Brussels sprouts in the after the summertime. So we have a lot of dishes in the restaurants with Brussels sprouts. Strawberries you have only in the season in the East German dishes. You will never find at the Christmas time in the East German kitchen strawberry on the dessert.
There's a question that I've been longing to ask a German chef. They say Spargel. This is the German word for asparagus. Why are the Germans so fascinated about their Spargel?
It's very tasty, very healthy. It's expensive also, so it makes them...
mentioning the prices, people say that Berlin is very cheap, you know, in terms of food and restaurants. Is it really so?
It's the restaurant not so cheap, but if you're going to buy food or you're talking about street food, currywurst, yeah, the sausage on the corner.
Of course.
Or the small sandwiches, or Kartoffelpuffer, which is grated potato fried in oil. Very cheap. But restaurant, let's say, they're adding a good price in the center of Berlin. It's expensive.
Thank you so much, Chef Mario. Thank you for coming to our studio.
You're very welcome.
One of the Eastern Berlin icons that survived the end of the Iron Curtain is the Ampelmann, the symbol shown on streetlights. The Ampelmann spread throughout the city after the fall of the Berlin Wall, acquiring a cult status. And here's what you probably didn't know. In the name of gender equality, this male figure wearing a hat might get himself a girlfriend. Yes, thanks to some German lawmakers. All right, that's all we have time for today. Auf Wiedersehen, Leute. Next week, another focus.